Looking for a great gadget? Our selection of the latest gadget reviews will help you find the ideal drones, GPS devices, toys and more. Also the latest reviews on laptop, mobile phone reviews, tablets, cameras and other gadgets reviews. Please like and subscribe to our channel and click the bell icon to get new video updates.
Acer Predator Triton 500 review. The best gaming laptops keep getting thinner and thinner, seemingly by the day, and the Acer Predator Triton 500 continues this trend. This thin and light gaming machine is packed with some of the most powerful laptop hardware on the market, while still being small enough to carry in your backpack. This approach does bring some compromises when it comes to build quality and thermals, but the high power and attractive design may end up making up for it. That is, until you take a look at the price tag. So, does the Acer Predator Triton 500 belong among the best gaming laptops 2019 has to offer? Well, as long as you can get past an awkward keyboard layout and a somewhat flimsy build, you will find a lot to love here, especially considering how powerful the hardware inside is. We got our hands on the entry-level model of the Acer Predator Triton 500, which is packed with an H-series Intel Core i7 processor, CPU, 16GB of memory, RAM, an NVIDIA GeForce RTX 2060, a 15.6-inch, 144Hz 1080p display and a 512GB solid-state drive (SSD). That's quite the build for the entry level, and it comes at a premium. The Acer Predator Triton 500 will set you back $1,799 to start. Though, this model is only available in the US and Australia. If you're in the UK, there's only one model of the Acer Predator Triton 500 with the same specs as the model we reviewed, but with a more powerful RTX 2080 graphics processor (GPU). That model will cost you £2,499, $2,499, about $3,550 Australian dollars. And you can't have a gaming laptop without an all-out configuration. The Acer Predator Triton 500 is no different, but it's only available in the US. You can get the Triton 500 with an RTX 2080, 32GB of RAM and a 1TB SSD for a whopping $2,999. Considering that this model has double the memory and SSD space as the $2,499 mid-range model, this upgrade actually provides significant value. The most obvious comparison here is to the Razer Blade, and this Acer laptop provides a much better value. The Razer Blade with the same exact specs as the starting option will set you back $2,299. That means you're paying a whopping $500 for a slightly nicer chassis. We don't know about you, but the Acer Predator Triton 500 definitely looks like the better value here. The Acer Predator Triton 500 isn't exactly going to blend into an office space, with its angular designs and giant blue logo on the back. But, it's not the most garish gaming laptop on the block, either. At just 0.7 inches thick and weighs 4.41 pounds, this 15-inch gaming laptop is quite easy to carry around. The Acer Predator Triton 500 has a lightweight metal build, and for the most part it's extremely solid, at least until you take a look at the lid of the laptop. You see, in order to make the Triton 500 as thin and light as it is, there had to be cuts to the chassis somewhere, and these cuts are almost entirely in the display lid. It's incredibly thin, and even minor pressure can cause it to flex. This isn't the most durable build in the world, and it will bend easily. Make sure you put it in a case if you take this laptop with you in your travels. The rest of the chassis is built like a tank, though. The keyboard deck and touchpad show absolutely no signs of flex, even during the most intense Overwatch matches. As for the inputs themselves, the keyboard feels amazing. With an incredible amount of travel and forceful feedback, this keyboard feels fantastic whether we're playing games or doing a bit of writing. And, we have to say that the RGB lighting here is jaw-dropping. There are 3 zones of lighting, rather than the per-key lighting of something like the Razer Blade, but it's bright and customizable. However, the keyboard layout holds the Acer Predator Triton 500 back from reaching its full potential. On the right edge of the keyboard, you'll find a bunch of media keys. Don't get us wrong, we love that these keys are included, but the placement means that we are constantly hitting them while typing. The worst offender is the Predator key, right next to the backspace key. We hit this button all the time, and every time we do it takes us out of what we are doing, and opens Acer's Predator Sense app. Still, this is a gaming laptop first and foremost, and it's unlikely that you'll hit these keys by accident while gaming. It's just something to be aware of if you plan on doing any work on the Acer Predator Triton 500. above the keyboard, you'll find some ventilation along with a turbo button. This will overclock the GPU and make the fans run at full speed. It's a quick and easy way to get a couple extra frames per second (FPS) out of your game. Then there's the trackpad. While it's thinner than we like, it's responsive and crisp, following our inputs without any issue. There are no dedicated buttons, like you'll find on other gaming laptops, but that's our preference anyway. It's no MacBook trackpad, but it's without a doubt the best trackpad we've ever used on a gaming laptop. As for ports, there are plenty on offer here. On the right side of the laptop, you'll find two USB 3.1 Type-A ports, a Thunderbolt 3 and a mini display port. Over on the left is power, LAN, another USB 3.1 Type-A, an HDMI and 3.5mm audio jacks for headphone and mic. For such a small form-factor gaming PC, this is an excellent assortment of ports, and basically has all of your bases covered, no matter what you're trying to do. Then, there's the display. The Acer Predator Triton 500 has a 15.6-inch, Full HD display running at 144 Hz. And, while it is just 1080p, it looks awesome. This display is incredibly colorful and bright, which on top of the fast refresh rate, makes games like Overwatch an absolute blast to play. We're not exaggerating when we say the Acer Predator Triton 500's display looks better than the AOC Agone we typically play games on. Even the screen's bezels are thin for a gaming laptop. The bottom bezel is pretty thick, and even has Predator emblazoned on it in some pretty garish lettering, but the remaining bezels practically vanish when playing games. They're not as thin as, say, the Dell XPS 13 or the Huawei MateBook 14, but they don't need to be. We just wish the display's excellence carried over to the speakers. Yet again, we have another gaming laptop with mediocre speakers located on the bottom of the chassis. These speakers are fine for watching the odd YouTube video, but once you try to listen to music or, heaven forbid, play games on it, you're in for disappointment. In fact, while playing The Witcher 3, we could barely hear the game over the obnoxious fans. That's the downside to this laptop's thin and light design, by the way. Because of the incredibly powerful hardware inside of this laptop, thermals are an issue. There are vents all over the Acer Predator Triton 500, the sides, above the keyboard, the back of the laptop, and across the bottom. Still, fans will speed up at the slightest amount of workload. This isn't a problem if you're using one of the best gaming headsets, but don't count on being able to play games comfortably through the built-in speakers. Luckily, because the Acer Predator Triton 500 is packed with an Intel Core i7-8750H and an RTX 2060, along with 16GB of RAM, performance is nothing to shake a stick at. There are no slowdowns here, whether we're playing The Witcher 3 on max settings or working with 20+ Chrome tabs open. The benchmarks reflect this, showing up the razor blade in CPU tests. For instance, with the same processor, the Acer Predator Triton 500 scored a whopping 1,078 points, compared to the Razer Blade's 906. Even the Geekbench scores are better, with Acer's portable gaming laptop scoring 19,876 to Razer's 19,064. As for graphics, the RTX 2060 is the little chip that could. In our canned gaming benchmarks in Shadow of the Tomb Raider and Total War, Warhammer 2, the Acer Predator Triton 500 scored 65 FPS and 51 FPS, respectively, on Ultra settings. And, even outside of benchmarks, we're impressed with the Acer Predator Triton 500. We regularly get the full 144 FPS out of Overwatch on max settings. The Witcher 3 also runs at a silky smooth frame rate on max settings, never dipping below 65 to 70 FPS. This awesome performance comes with a thermal price, though. We regularly see the CPU running at 92 degrees Celsius, which is right up against the temperature limit. The laptop doesn't throttle at this temperature, but it does stay there, even with the fans running at full speed. This won't be a huge problem in the short term, but it could affect the longevity of the Acer Predator Triton 500. The GPU doesn't get quite as hot as the processor, but it still gets toasty unless you have the fans ramped up. The Acer Predator Triton 500's biggest surprise is the battery life. Typically, you'd expect a gaming laptop to only last a couple hours on battery, but this laptop does away with that stereotype. In fact, in the PC Mark 8 battery test, the Acer Predator Triton 500 lasted 3 hours and 33 minutes. So, you should be able to get some work done, or even some light gaming, without having to run for your charger after a couple minutes. The laptop fared even better under our anecdotal movie test. Streaming a 1080p video on loop with 50% brightness and volume, with all radios but Wi-Fi disabled, the Triton 500 lasted a whopping 5 hours and 35 minutes. We're still not at a point where we can work all day on a gaming laptop without being plugged in, but we're getting close. There really isn't a lot of bloatware on the Acer Predator Triton 500, and what is there doesn't get in the way of anything. First, of course, you have a suite of standard Acer apps, including the Acer Care Center. This will keep your PC up to date, and display the status of your battery among other elements. These tools exist elsewhere within Windows 10, but it's nice to have all of it consolidated in one place. The big one, though, is the Acer Predator Sense software. Through this edgy-looking software, you can control everything from lighting, to fan speed and even overclocking. The overclocking is the main feature here. Only the GPU can be overclocked, and while you won't be able to push it as far as a desktop graphics card, we were able to see marginal performance improvements with the GPU in extreme mode.